Hi there. If you're watching this right now, drop a comment with where you're from and what time it is for you. I'll quietly set up my Minecraft base and read real Reddit stories as we start a calm night adventure designed to help you drift off. Slow your breathing, get cozy tonight. There's only quiet and peace. You don't have to move or even keep your eyes open. Just listen. Let the room be dim, the screen a soft glow, and your pillow feel a little heavier under your cheek. If you want, place one hand on your chest and count 5 slow breaths with me. In, 2, 3, 4, 5, and out, 2, 3, 4, 5. Good. As the world outside lowers its volume, I'll begin with a story about small words that reveal big truths and how a single sentence can test the person who promises to love you most. You simply rest and let each sentence arrive like footsteps on fresh snow, quiet, steady and light. You're listening now as I tell you about a woman who didn't mean to play a game, but found herself choosing a simple test because she felt a tilt in her house, like a picture frame that never quite hangs straight. She had been with her husband for 6 years, and lately he had started talking about money as if it were a leash, tugging, tightening, loosening, but always wrapped around the same subject. When she bought groceries, he asked for the receipt. When she sent her sister flowers, he texted, "Was that necessary?" Not even adding an emoji to soften the edge. She kept telling herself that stress explains everything. Rent rising, car repairs, the way the calendar always circles back to due. But then she noticed something heavier. He used we for every expense and I for every reward. We need to cut back. I earned that. We shouldn't eat out. I deserve new headphones. That sort of math wears grooves in the mind. So one evening, when the streetlights dusted their living room with pale gold, she said a sentence that felt like dropping a pebble into a calm lake. I won the lottery. She didn't raise her voice. She kept her face as plain as the ceramic bowl beside her. She expected laughter. Maybe he'd tease her for buying a ticket. She expected at least one question about how she felt, whether she was scared or excited. Instead, the sentence hit the water, and he didn't look at the ripples. He looked at the shore where he could build a fence. "Show me the ticket," he said. "You can feel the way those 4 words land, can't you? You can tell a lot about someone from their first words. Some people start with wow. Some people start with we're okay now. He started with show me the ticket, and the way he said the made it a possession already, like the ticket had moved silently and immediately into his pocket. She said she had left it in the kitchen. He stood up fast. He didn't ask how much. He didn't hug her. He didn't say, "I'm proud of you," which would have been silly but sweet. He slid his phone out, and as they walked, added something small. "We'll need to make a plan before you call anyone." He used you now, not we. You will call. You will do what I say. That's how quiet steering works. A touch here, a nudge there, and suddenly the road you thought you chose is curving the way someone else prefers. In the kitchen, the ticket lay beneath a magnet shaped like a green pear, half hidden by a takeout menu. He picked it up with 2 fingers like a detective lifting evidence. "We should keep this in my glove compartment until we claim it," he said, as if the prize were a toddler that needed a car seat. She tried to smile. "I thought we'd put it in a folder," she said. He didn't respond to the folder. He was already opening his banking app, already calculating with numbers that didn't exist yet. He told her they would pay off the car note, actually. Sell the car and buy a better one because a windfall should upgrade our life, not just patch it. He mentioned a cabin near a lake he used to visit. He said, "We'll need a lawyer to make sure your family doesn't come asking for handouts." He didn't say her mother's name. He didn't mention her sister's student debt or the nephew who needed braces. The money hadn't arrived, and already it had erased faces. You breathe in quietly as he speaks, because you can see what she sees, pixel-sharp outlines of priorities, like a map zooming out and revealing fewer roads. When she asked, gently, "How much do you think it is?" he didn't look up. "Doesn't matter," he said. "It's ours, and we should lock it down." Ours. Lock it down. He then added a detail that hurt more than any number. "And let's keep this between us for now. I don't want work to treat me differently." He didn't want to be treated differently. He wanted to control who changed and when. When someone gets the chance to be generous, the room grows larger. people can breathe. When someone gets the chance to be controlling, the room shrinks. Even the air feels assigned. She tried again. What would you do first if it were real? He finally smiled, a real one, showing the dimple she fell in love with. Quit my job, he said. Tell my boss to find someone else to bleed dry. We'd move. We'd finally be done with this neighbourhood. He looked around their small kitchen as if it were temporary scaffolding. I've carried us long enough. I deserve to relax. You can take a break from your part-time thing too, at least until we settle. He said, I've carried us. And she felt the last 3 years of double shifts, late-night meal prep, and quiet tax spreadsheets slide off the shelf like invisible books no one would read. She asked to hold the ticket again, and when he handed it over, he gave it slowly, pinch-releasing pinch, as if he were passing a sleeping animal. We need rules, he continued, relaxed now that the ticket had proved itself. Cash option, an accountant no one knows, no big purchases for 6 months, except the car and the move, no loans to friends, and obviously we put the account in my name first so we can control the flow. He added that last part too quickly, like he didn't want to give the world time to disagree. In your name? She asked, keeping her voice sound soft. At first, he said, you know I'm better with this stuff. Pause here and let your jaw loosen the way you do when you're almost asleep. Your tongue rests on the floor of your mouth. You notice where the story is heavy and where it's light, and if you listen closely you can hear the test sharpen. She hadn't planned to push. She wanted to see kindness bloom. But now she heard a gate closing. I should tell my mum, she said, more to the room than to him. Later, he replied, once it's safe. She thought about her mother's hands, the way they smelled like oranges after washing dishes. She thought about how safety without sharing can feel like a brand new lock on an empty house. She waited until he finished listing. Then she said the second sentence that would change everything. It isn't real. At first he didn't hear her. He thought she meant the danger wasn't real, or that the problems were solvable. No, she said softer, and placed the ticket on the counter between them like a leaf set back on a branch. I didn't win. I wanted to see what you would say first. Silence has many textures. This one felt like that moment in a snow globe after you stop shaking, when the flakes hover mid-air before falling. His face didn't darken. It hardened. You lied to me, he said, and the word lied rang like a dropped spoon. You tested me. She apologized immediately, not because she regretted the truth, but because the method looked ugly in the mirror. I needed to know what mattered to you first, she said. Was it us? Was it family? Was it relief? He laughed, a short single exhale through the nose. It's survival, he said. It's control. It's not letting people drain us. He pointed, not at her, but at the room. Look around. This is what happens when you trust the world. I'm not going to let anyone take from us again. She could not argue with the feeling under his words. The world does take. The world does knock on your door with needs. But love is the one place you shouldn't have to ask for a receipt. She told him about the past few months, the receipts, the comments, the way his fingers tightened around small decisions. She said, money is a flashlight. It shows what's already there. He said, money is a shield. Without it, you get hurt. Both are true, but only one begins with we and ends with a plan that includes mothers, sisters, nephews and neighbours who lend you sugar when it's late and all the stores are closed. He paced. You can picture it, a long rectangle across tile that clicks under steps. You're manipulative, he said, and the consonants felt like he'd put rocks in his mouth. You embarrassed me. You made me dream. She said she hadn't meant to humiliate him, and that dreams can be tested gently. He said he would sleep at his brother's. He said he needed space to think. He took the ticket anyway, perhaps out of habit, and folded it twice before placing it back on the counter, like it might still redeem something. When he left, the apartment did what rooms always do after an argument. It kept being a room. The garlic in the bowl still smelled like garlic. The couch still leaned a little too far to one side. The clock still made its soft tick that sounded like a small heartbeat behind the wall. She sat and texted her sister, not about the test, just, "Are you up?" Her sister called, and you can hear in your mind the voice that always lifts you a notch out of the hole you're digging. She told her sister everything. There was a long stretch of quiet, not awkward, just thoughtful. "Do you remember," her sister said, "when we used to play the game where we imagined being rich? You always wanted to buy everyone breakfast." She laughed at that, a real laugh. "Still do," she said. The laughter unknotted something. "By now you're warm," and the story glides. The husband texted once from the car. "You hurt me." She replied, "I'm sorry for the method. I needed to see the first thing you'd protect." He did not answer. Hours later, she woke on the couch to the dim blue of pre-dawn, the kind of light that makes everything look gentler, even cereal boxes. She brewed tea. She wrote 3 columns on a scrap of envelope. What I felt, what he felt, what is next. Under what I felt, she wrote, small, erased, curious, brave, ashamed. Under what he felt, she wrote, threatened, used, justified, hungry. Under what is next, she wrote, conversation, counselling, boundaries, or goodbye. When he returned the next afternoon, his jaw looked tired, like he had been chewing hard thoughts. He sat without removing his coat. "I told my brother," he said. "He said I sounded like Dad." What a sentence! Whole family histories roll like thunder behind it. "I don't want to be Dad," he added, the words softening. "I want to keep us safe. I don't want to lose everything because we were nice." She nodded. "I don't want to lose us because we were afraid," she said. "If we ever do get lucky, money, time, a break, I need your first words to be about love, not locks." They agreed on something that sounded modest but was actually enormous, to try a month of radical transparency with money, down to the coffee receipts, but with a twist. Each week they would choose one act of generosity, however small, and do it together. They would also talk to someone neutral, a counsellor from a community centre, who understood how scarcity makes you build walls and how love asks for windows. He didn't like the idea of counselling, but he liked the idea of not becoming his worst example more. She didn't like that she had tested him, but she liked that the truth had arrived before any money did. You breathe in again and count 5, slow and easy. The story doesn't end with fireworks. It ends with a list on the fridge, rent, groceries, a little jar labelled lemon pie with Mom, and another jar labelled backup, because prudence matters too. It ends with him catching himself one evening, before saying my account, and switching to our plan. It ends with her buying her sister those flowers again, no permission, just a receipt stuck to the bouquet like a leaf, and a husband who says nothing but pretty. It ends with a ticket in a drawer, not worth anything, but kept as a reminder that first words matter, and so do second chances, and that money is not a leash or a shield, but a tool you hold together, palms open, like you would hold water. And as you lie there, eyes heavy, you can feel the story leave a light trace on your thoughts, like a finger drawing a careful circle on the surface of a pond. If one day luck does knock on your door, you'll remember to let love answer first. You'll remember to start with a we, to check the room for space, to notice who you become when the number on the screen jumps. And even without luck, you will count your breaths, let your shoulders drop, and decide that the richest part of the night is how gently you treated yourself while the world grew quiet. Story, Section 2. The cave in your mind grows a little deeper now. The torches hum, and you can hear the soft drip of water somewhere in the dark. Every slow echo is like a breath between stories. You've just left the tale of the woman and her lottery ticket, but the quiet continues, because not every truth arrives with shouting. Some come as complaints through a thin wall, or the way someone stares too long at a colour that isn't theirs. Our next story begins in a bright neighbourhood where the houses all looked a little too perfect, like they'd been printed from the same file. Beige, beige, off beige. The woman who moved there wanted something cheerful. She wanted to paint her home like her grandmother's kitchen, soft peach with sage blue trim. She called it her sunrise house. When she rolled on that first stripe of colour, she smiled so wide that even the mailman stopped to say it looked happy. But one man didn't like happiness when it came in paint form. He lived next door, his name was Paul, and his house was the colour of wet cardboard. He thought anything brighter than sand was an attack on the senses. The first morning after she finished her wall, he stood on his porch holding a cup of coffee as if it were evidence. "You know," he called, "we have an aesthetic here." She laughed softly, thinking he was joking. "Yes, sunshine," she said, still brushing the edge of her window frame. He didn't laugh. "It's not funny. You're lowering property values. If you've ever had a neighbour like Paul, you already know how the next few weeks feel small size. At the fence line, muttering over the sound of a lawnmower, the mail occasionally arriving in the wrong box but never returned with a smile. She tried politeness first. It's the strongest armour we're given. She waved every morning. She offered muffins one Saturday. He took one, stared at the blueberries like they'd offended him, and said, "So this is how you'll be." She didn't answer. Silence can be offence too. By the third week, he began filing little complaints that weren't really complaints. That colour's not in the palette for the area. There was no HOA, of course, but he printed rules from another neighbourhood and slid them into her mailbox like anonymous letters. Each paper smelled faintly of cologne and anger. She might have cried if not for her niece. The niece was 15, wild-haired, with chipped green nail polish and an artistic streak that matched her aunt's. One afternoon she came over carrying a box of pavers and acrylic paints. "Let's make the walkway fun," she said. They painted turtles, ladybugs, even a little tile that said, "Be kind," even to the loud ones. When they laid the stones out the next morning, Paul appeared again, this time clutching his phone like a weapon. "You can't do this," he said. "It's an eyesore." The niece looked at him calmly. "It's a walk-saw," she said. "You don't have to step on it." He sputtered. She turned away and laughed quietly. Later, her aunt told her to stay inside, not because she was scared, but because she knew that grown men who hate colour hate being ignored even more. She poured lemonade, sat on her porch swing and waited for the next complaint. It came 10 minutes later, dressed in righteousness. "You've got no respect for the neighbourhood," Paul said. "I've lived here 15 years. "And I've lived here 15 days, she replied. "Different lengths, same street." He frowned, and for a second she almost saw the loneliness behind it. People like Paul build walls not because they love rules, but because they don't know how to live without them. He didn't have a wife, no pets, no friends who visited. His garden was precise but lifeless. "I just want things to match," he muttered. "They do," she said softly. "They match the sky." That should have been the end, but human grudges are like weeds, they find the cracks. A week later, she came home from work to find splashes of grey paint on her fence. Not much, just enough to stain one panel. She took a deep breath, walked to his porch and knocked. He opened the door, already defensive. "Yes?" "Did you do it?" she asked. He blinked. "Do what?" "The grey paint." "I don't know what you're talking about," he said too fast. She looked at his hands. Specks of the same grey dotted his knuckles. She didn't point it out. "Okay," she said. "If you ever want to talk about why it bothers you so much, I'm here." Then she left. That night, the sprinklers hissed like whispering snakes. She couldn't sleep, so she wrote a note and slid it under his door. It said, "I'm sorry if the colour makes you sad. Maybe we can pick one wall together that you like." He didn't reply for days. Then, on Sunday morning, she woke to the sound of scraping. Through her curtains she saw him repainting the fence the part he'd ruined back to its original white. He didn't look at her window, but that was apology enough. By evening she baked a pie and left it on his porch with a new note. "Thank you for fixing the fence. The colour stays, but the pie is yours." When she checked later, the pie was gone. No note this time, but no more grey paint either. Sometimes healing looks exactly like nothing happening. Weeks passed, and summer turned to the edge of autumn. The flowers in her wild garden began to fade into seed heads, and one morning she found a small packet taped to her door. It said, "For spring inside were sunflower seeds." No signature, but she knew. She planted them anyway. You can feel yourself drifting as you picture that yard. Soft peach walls, faded green trim, stepping stones with smiling turtles, a single fence panel gleaming white like a truce flag. You can hear distant crickets and the low hum of late summer air. People online later read her story when she posted it to Reddit Our Neighbour Stories, tagged, Not sure if I'm the jerk. The top comment read, "You can't argue with someone who hates joy. You just outlast them." She pinned it, then replied, "Outlasted and repainted. Peace achieved." And under that comment, someone claiming to be Paul wrote, "Maybe joy isn't so bad." The pie helped. That became the line she told friends whenever they asked how she managed to stay so patient. The pie helped. There's a small truth tucked there for you too, listener. When someone throws grey at your colour, respond with warmth. Not because they deserve it, but because you do. It's exhausting to carry resentment. It's restful to paint. If you're half asleep now, let the image stay, sunflowers nodding in a breeze, a porch swing creaking softly, the world briefly balanced between two people who decided that peace was cheaper than paint thinner. And if you're still awake, take one slow breath and think of something in your own life that could use a coat of forgiveness. Maybe it's a memory, maybe a conversation, maybe a name you still rehearse in your head. Picture it in a softer colour, sage blue maybe, or the gentle peach of a sunrise you haven't seen yet. The story doesn't need a big ending. Some stories just fade into calm. The woman keeps her house bright. The neighbour tends his garden. Every spring the sunflowers rise and tilt toward the side where his porch stands. They both wave now when they water their yards. And that's enough. Story, Section 3. The torches flicker lower now, and the cave feels wider. You can hear the slow rhythm of the pickaxe in your mind. One tap, one pause, one echo that fades like a thought you almost forgot. You've already travelled through the quiet honesty of the lottery story and the soft forgiveness of the paint-war neighbour. Now we descend into a deeper chamber, where light barely touches the walls, and truth hides in data numbers, passwords, screens. This story begins with a man named Evan, 24, who believed the world ran on small proofs. He kept receipts, emails, and backup drives of everything, not because he feared chaos, but because he loved patterns. When something didn't fit, he would study it until it did. He called it protective logic. His girlfriend, Janice, called it paranoia with spreadsheets. They met in a bookstore. She worked there part-time. He came in once a week to buy used programming guides. She liked how careful he was, how he read every page before deciding. He liked how she always had a different colour of eyeliner, a small rebellion in pastel. Their first months were easy. Shared playlists, late walks, and cheap takeout eaten on the floor of his apartment. When she laughed, it came out in quiet bursts, like something she tried to hold but couldn't. Then small things started slipping. A phone call from his manager. "We got a weird complaint about you." A text from a friend. "Someone online using your name left a bad review of my store. Was that you?" At first, he thought it was coincidence. Then it happened again. Another job, another complaint. Anonymous emails to HR. Reviews signed with strange fake names, but detailed enough that they could only have come from someone who knew him. Every time, Janice was there to comfort him. She'd rub his shoulders and say, "You just have bad luck, baby. Some people attract drama." She'd make tea, tell him not to let it ruin his night, and then curl up beside him like nothing could touch them. But he started noticing patterns, the timing, the wording, even the grammar. The anonymous complaints use the same phrases she did, consistently late, doesn't communicate clearly. She used them once when they argued about dishes. He brushed it off then, but now the echo made his stomach tighten. One evening, his manager at the bakery called him into the office. "We got a Google review," she said. "It's long, detailed, and clearly about you. I believe you, but maybe check with your friends. Someone's obsessed." He nodded, pretending calm. Later that night, while Janice was in the shower, her phone lit up on the table. A notification from Google popped up. "Mick Myrtle, manager, has responded to your review." His heart slowed to a crawl. Mick Myrtle, the same name as the reviewer. He stared until the screen went dark again. He didn't confront her right away. He wanted certainty. Certainty is quieter than anger, and more dangerous. The next day he told her he needed her email to book train tickets to visit his father. She handed him the login without hesitation. When she showered again, he opened it. Inside was an email titled "Control Sheet for Me." It contained a spreadsheet attached. He clicked it open, and the world rearranged itself. Every job he'd ever had was listed. Dates, co-workers' names, their phone numbers, his passwords, his schedule. Columns marked complaint sent, account created, follow-up pending. He felt something cold bloom behind his ribs. He sent the file to himself, closed everything, and left before she stepped out of the bathroom. He packed a bag and drove through the night to his father's house. The radio whispered static. His mind filled every mile with questions that had no answers. Why? How long? Was it jealousy, control, or entertainment? At his father's house he broke down. His father, an old man who spoke little and listened well, called the police and a lawyer. Evan slept on the couch for 2 nights, waking every few hours to the sound of his own heartbeat. Janice texted him, "Where did you go? Are you okay? Please talk to me." He didn't reply. He was done talking. He was collecting evidence. The lawyer advised him to stay away, to document everything. The police took copies. But there's something strange about justice. It moves slower than fear. Every sound at night felt like footsteps. Every car that passed the window felt like a signal. Then she emailed him. "I just wanted to help you grow up. You're too trusting." He didn't respond. She sent another. "You're nothing without me. You'll see how hard life gets." He blocked her. Days turned into weeks. The legal process began but stalled. He changed his passwords, his address, even his phone number. The spreadsheet haunted him, not because of what it contained, but because of how much she had known. Every detail of his life, archived. Love turned into surveillance. He thought about the first day they met, how she'd teased him for double-checking a receipt. "You'll drive yourself crazy," she'd said. Maybe she meant it as prophecy. He posted the story to Reddit months later, under a throwaway account. He didn't expect anyone to believe him. The top comment read, "She's a control addict. You escaped a cage you didn't see." Another wrote, "This is digital abuse. Keep records, but let yourself rest." He saved that one. Slowly, he began to rebuild. Therapy, new job, a new city where nobody knew his name. He started biking to work, feeling the wind scrape the fear from his skin. The first time he laughed again was when his co-worker dropped a tray of muffins and said, "Guess gravity hates us both." He laughed until he cried. One evening, months later, he opened an old folder by accident. The spreadsheet file blinked at him like an unopened wound. He hovered over it, then dragged it to the trash. His hands trembled, but he didn't look back. Later, he went to Reddit again, not to post, but to read other people's recovery stories. There were thousands of people who'd escaped manipulative partners, online stalkers, digital ghosts. He wrote a small comment. It gets better. It really does. And for the first time, he believed it. He never saw Janice again. A friend later told him she'd moved abroad, deleted her accounts, started over. He hoped she found help, but he didn't need to know. Some endings don't come with closure. They come with quiet. If you're still half awake, imagine that spreadsheet now fading line by line, the cells clearing like mist at sunrise. Imagine him closing the laptop, stepping outside, feeling air that belongs only to him. The birds start their morning arguments. The world is still here, intact, waiting. In another timeline, maybe he stayed. Maybe he confronted her, tried to understand. But in this one he walked away, and sometimes that's the bravest verb there is. He still keeps lists old habits die soft. But now his lists are different. On his fridge, written in marker, things I control, my time, my breath, who I let in, how quickly I forgive myself. He checks it every morning, not to remind himself of fear, but to measure peace. And in the silence of his small new apartment, with the hum of a refrigerator replacing the hum of anxiety, he realizes the truth that the numbers could never show. Safety isn't in proof, it's in trust, rebuilt from the ground up. So if you're listening, maybe tired, maybe dozing off, remember this. Not all data is knowledge, and not all knowledge is love. Sometimes love means closing the spreadsheet, turning off the monitor, and going outside to breathe air that no one can track. That's where this story ends. A man who used to live inside a database now lives inside a sunrise. He's not healed completely, but he's free. And that's enough. The cave has grown quiet now. The torchlight flickers soft orange over stone, and the echo of the last pick still hums in the air. You can feel how deep you've gone. 3 stories behind you, each one heavier, each one leaving a mark like a footprint in dust. What's left now is a different kind of silence, not the hollow quiet of loss, but the stillness that comes when something inside you understands. Tonight's last story begins where endings usually sit, on the edge of a wedding aisle. There's a woman named Claire, 32, a teacher, methodical, steady, the kind of person who double knots everything. Shoes, schedules, emotions. She's marrying Owen, an engineer with the same fondness for quiet certainty. 3 years together, 1 year engaged, everything organised down to the seating chart. The colour palette, forest green and ivory. The florist knows her by name. The weather forecast promises sun. 2 days before the ceremony, she wakes to a text tone she doesn't recognise. 1 long buzz instead of 2 short ones. She blinks at the phone. The screen shows a message from Luke. Her heart tugs once. She almost smiles. Luke, her best friend since college. The man who introduced her to coffee strong enough to survive heartbreak. The one who helped her move into 3 apartments. The one she calls at midnight when her car won't start. She opens the message expecting something funny, maybe a meme about cold feet. Instead, she sees a paragraph so long it folds itself into 3 dots at the end. She scrolls. I know this is wrong timing. I know it's selfish. But I can't watch you marry someone else without telling you the truth. I love you. I've loved you for years. I thought I could just stand there and smile through it, but I can't. Please don't marry him. Please at least talk to me first. She reads it twice. Her mouth is dry, the kind of dry that comes after you've cried, even though she hasn't. She sits at the edge of the bed and stares at the sunlight crawling across the carpet. Owen is away at his brother's bachelor night barbecue, harmless. Her phone buzzes again. Another message. I'll be waiting at the park bench where we studied for finals. If you come, I'll know there's still something. If you don't, I'll disappear. I promise I won't ruin the wedding. She doesn't move for a long time. In the kitchen, the refrigerator hums like it knows something. She thinks about Luke's laugh, the time he carried her drunk through rain, the way he always said, "You'll find someone brave enough to match you." Maybe he never realized he meant himself. But timing is cruel math. Love can be true and still arrive late. She puts down the phone, grabs her coffee mug and goes to school. Her students are restless. It's Friday. Every noise feels louder. The scrape of chairs, the tap of pencils, the endless rustle of paper. At lunch, she goes to the teacher's lounge, sits by the window and finally types a reply. Luke, I care about you. You're my best friend. But the wedding is happening. Please don't come. She presses send and feels a strange grief like deleting a playlist she's played too many times. The next morning, rehearsal. The church smells like wax and eucalyptus. Owen's mother fusses with ribbons. The bridesmaids giggle. Everything looks exactly as it should, except Claire's phone won't stop lighting up in her pocket. Messages from unknown numbers. Then one from Luke's sister. He's not answering calls. Just thought you should know. The floor tilts for a second. She excuses herself, walks outside and calls Luke, straight to voicemail. She tries again. Same. The 3rd time she leaves a message. Please don't do anything stupid. I'm sorry if I hurt you, but I can't fix it this way. No reply. That night, she lies awake next to Owen, who's already asleep. She can't tell him, he'd worry, maybe cancel the rehearsal dinner. Her brain builds a tower of what-ifs. By 3 a.m., she gives up on sleep and drives to the park. The bench is empty, just dew on the seat and a soda can crushed flat in the grass. She exhales and feels her body unclench. Maybe he listened. Maybe he left town. She sits for a while anyway, watching the fog curl between trees. Then a sound, footsteps on gravel. Her heart jumps, but it's not Luke. It's an older man walking a dog. He nods, smiles. She nods back, laughs quietly at herself. The world keeps going. When she gets home, she finds a small envelope wedged under her door. No address, just a name. Inside, a single page of notebook paper. I'm sorry. We would like to chatter while she gets her hair pinned. The photographer jokes, "Try to look nervous, it's cuter." She smiles because she's supposed to, but inside something else happens. The echo of that letter makes some truths refuse to stay silent. She doesn't doubt. She knows it. In a small corner of her mind, versions of her exist in other people's imaginations. Things that never got to happen. At the ceremony, the music starts. She walks down the aisle, sees Owen's face, steady and warm, and for a moment all the static quiets. Halfway through the vows, the church door creaks. Everyone turns. A figure stands silhouetted by light. It's not Luke, it's his sister, holding a phone. She mouths, "I'm sorry," and slips into a back pew. Claire's heart bangs once, then steadies. The priest keeps reading. She finishes her vows, voice clear. When she and Owen kiss, the room erupts in applause, and the moment folds neatly around them like a photo being placed into an album. Later, at the reception, she finds Luke's sister outside. The woman looks pale, holding a glass of water. "Is he okay?" Claire asks. She nods. "He left town last night. Said he was driving west. He wanted me to give you this." She hands her a thumb drive, small, blue, scratched on one side. Claire takes it, but doesn't plug it in. Not yet. She thanks her, hugs her awkwardly, and goes back inside. Music, laughter, champagne bottles, life resuming its rhythm. Weeks pass, the honeymoon ends, married life begins. Calm, domestic, ordinary. The thumb drive stays in the drawer next to the letter. She tells herself she won't look. Curiosity, though, is patient. One night when Owen works late, she plugs it in. Inside, there's only one file, Claire and she clicks. Luke's voice fills the room. "Hey, if you're hearing this, I'm probably somewhere far enough that I can't mess things up anymore. I just need to say thank you. That's every version of my life that had you in it, even the imaginary ones. You taught me that not getting what you want can still be a kind of gift. Are you happy? Okay? And tell me to dance with you off. Goodbye." Static, then silence. She sits there for a long time, not crying exactly, just letting the sound of his voice fade until it becomes part of the air. She deletes the file but keeps the drive. Some memories shouldn't live online. When Owen comes home, she meets him at the door and says, "Let's dance." He laughs. "There's no music," she says. "We'll make some." He puts his arms around her, and they sway in the quiet. Months later, she writes about it anonymously on Reddit under the tag "One More From the Guest." Post title, "My best friend confessed his love before the wedding. I didn't go." Comments flood in. "You did the right thing. You spared two people heartbreak. You're stronger than you think." One comment stays with her. Username Old Keys Collector writes, "You'll think of him less each year. But when you do, you'll remember kindness, not chaos. That's the proof it was real love, just mistimed." She replies with a heart emoji and logs off. The next morning she wakes to sunlight spilling across the bed and realizes she slept through the night without dreams. It feels like forgiveness. If you're listening now, maybe your own life has someone like Luke, a what if, that visits in quiet moments. Maybe you wonder about choices, the way roads divide without warning. This story isn't about regret, it's about recognition. Because love isn't only measured by who stays, it's also measured by who steps back when they could have reached forward, by who lets you be happy, even when it hurts. Imagine that wedding hall one last time. The lights dimmed, chairs empty, petals scattered like confetti ghosts. In that still space, two people who once could have been are now only grateful shadows. And somewhere on a road heading west, a man rolls down the window, breathes night air and smiles because at least he told the truth. The stars overhead look like 1,000 unopened letters. You can rest now. The stories have circled back to quiet. As you drift, remember, sometimes the kindest thing love can do is whisper goodbye and close the door softly enough that no one wakes. The cave is empty now. The last torch burns low and the air feels warm against stone. You've followed every echo for stories. 4 small worlds that began with conflict and ended with quiet. That's session reminded that love can be real even when it has to let go. All of them ended the same way, with someone choosing calm. That's the point of this channel, of these long quiet hours, to show that stillness isn't emptiness, it's healing. Close your eyes if you haven't already. Picture your own small world softening around you. Maybe it's a Minecraft cave lit with torches. Maybe it's just your room. It's glowing with city light. Either way,